जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna and welcome back. Thank you for joining. Today we are discussing verse number 13 of chapter number 2 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And in verse number 12, Krishna starts instructing Arjuna on the science of soul. So Krishna says that never was a time that I didn't exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna that we were eternal, we are the eternal living entities, and we existed in the past, we are existing now, and we are going to exist in the future. And in this verse, today's verse, verse number 13, Krishna is going to talk about the spirituality of the individual. So let's see the verse. Chapter 2, verse number 13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe Kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So what does that mean? So Krishna is saying to Arjuna, or instructing Arjuna about the knowledge of spirit and matter. So Krishna is saying, Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara. So Krishna says that in this deha means body. So in this body, what is there in this body? That within this body there is the owner of the body. So what is the owner of the body? The owner of the body is soul, which is continuously passing or experiencing through different stages of life. So what are those stages of life? So the soul, which is not changing, but the body is changing to different states. And those states are Kaumaram, Yovanam and Jara. So Kaumaram means boyhood or childhood, and Yovanam means youth, and Jara means old age. So if we take our old or childhood pictures and look at it now, we'll look so different. So, but we have experienced both the childhood, and we are experiencing our physical, within the physical body, we are experiencing whatever stage of or state of life we are in. So something is there constant within the body, and that it doesn't change, but the physical body is actually changing. So then Krishna is going to say that then there will come a point in time, the body will get completely old and useless, right? That's a time of jara. When we become old, the body becomes useless, kind of things, and bodily parts and organ may not even be working. So at that time, what happens? What does the soul do when this body is no more useful? So it's like, a old dress which is completely worn out. What we do? So we discard it. So similarly, Krishna is saying, Tatha dehantara praptir. Tatha dehantara praptir means, dehantara means, antara means distance. So dehantara means distance between two body. Deha antara means distance between two bodies. So one body to another body. So the soul is going to move on. It is not going to stick around in the same old body which is unusable. Means the soul is going to leave this body, and then the soul is going to take. So here Krishna is trying to convey to Arjuna that if you are lamenting so much for the death of your friends and relatives, especially Bhishma and Drona, then you should have lamented all through, because their body are continually changing. The body is not only changing at the time of death, but throughout the life there is a change in the body. There is a change at a biological level, and science also actually acknowledges that there are changes happening in the bodies. The body, hands, legs, organs, everything changes. So cell that makes our body, that changes every 7 years. Every 7 years we have a total new body. An example can be given, like we have a laptop. So in the laptop we have motherboard, we have hard disk drive and various other components. But let's say we experience something wrong within that laptop and it's not working. Then what do? We change those parts. Let's say the motherboard is not working or the hard disk is not working. So we change the motherboard, we change the hard disk. But the laptop stays with us. So there is a continuity. So here Krishna is explaining actually two levels of incarnation. One is incarnation or internal incarnation, which the bodily changes, that is constantly happening, and this is subtle, so it's a gradual change. As for example, we are changing parts of the laptop one at a time, so that is one kind of change. And then Krishna is talking about sudden change. What is that sudden change? Sudden or a drastic and visible change. That means to get a new laptop, we throw the old laptop and get a new laptop. That's a drastic change. So similarly, the soul drastically at one instance changes the body, and that is the process of death. So for the example of computer, when we change part by part or we get a new laptop, so the user remains the same. The user is actually not changing. So similarly, the body changes subtly, slowly, or drastically, means at the time of death. Then within that body, that is I, that is soul, remains the change. So the Dehi, who is the person occupies the body, never changes. So then the last line, then Krishna says that Dhiras tatra na muhyati. Dhiras tatra na muhyati means Dhiras means wise person, is not bewildered. But over here, Srila Prabhupada translate Dhira as sober. So sober is used in the context of alcohol. A person who is not affected by alcohol is a sober person. So the bodily conception of life is like an intoxication. And Dhira means becoming free of the intoxication. And that intoxication which is binding us in this material world, or removing this, getting free from this intoxication, is a very important goal of life. So therefore it is said over here, Krishna is saying that the Dhira will never get bewildered. So Dhira is a person, sober man, he knows that soul is eternal, so hence he doesn't lament for the change of the body. So then does that mean that if there is no death for the soul, then we can go and kill anyone? So the answer is no. That is not the instruction given here. The killing must be done only on the authority or the supervision of a authorized person. Just like, a government of any country gives order to the soldiers who are at the border of the country and gives them order during the war times to shoot and kill during the war-like situation. Then the government will reward and honor such soldiers who have acted under the authority of the government. However, if the same soldier comes back home and is enjoying his vacation and then comes to know that his wife was having illicit affairs with someone when he was away, and if he gets angry and kills that man, so what will happen? So then the same government which gave him order or award, the same government is going to punish the soldier, and what the government is going to do is put the soldier behind the bars and even give death sentence for killing another man. Why is this? So this is because this man earlier he killed, but he killed on the order of the government. Or earlier we can say the soldier was acting under authority, and now he is a soldier killed on his own, so he is liable for punishment. So here in this case of Arjuna, the supreme authority, the supreme lord is right in front of him, and based on the authority of Krishna and by the order of Krishna, when Arjuna is going to kill these evil people and establish dharma, so there is no, or there will be no punishment for this kind of action of killing. So it is not that a blanket sanction is given to everybody for killing anyone they want. No, this is not allowed at all. This is not the subject which Krishna is describing here. So here Krishna tells Arjuna about the constant change of the body, but there is no change in the soul. So Arjuna should not lament for this kind of change of body. In the previous verse, Krishna, there's 2.12, Krishna explains that you, I, and the kings always existed. So Krishna says that never there was a time that I didn't exist, or you, or the kings. So that point, so there can be a question that if some of the soldiers may die after the war, so how does that work? So Krishna answers that in this verse. He says that the body may die, but the soul is eternal and it will continue to exist in another body. So you should not get disturbed by such change, because just as changes happen from Kaumaram to Yovanam to Jara, similarly, after the Jara, the soul will go into the next body. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us in the purport. So in the purport, the first point Srila Prabhupada is bringing is soul changing body every moment. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. So that is the first point. Now soul does not undergo any change. So we have discussed this point. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. So what happens at the time of death? So the individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual. So at death what happens is the soul goes to the next body, transmigrates to the next body. In the previous session we discussed that, along with the soul, the subtle body and the life air, all the three things that goes to the next body. So here is a nice picture which shows this blue line is showing that there is a soul within the child body. Then the child grows a little bit and then starts walking, and then it's in the childhood phase, and then the child is keep on growing, becomes youth and become a man, and then this starts getting older and dwindle and finally dies, and then takes another body, and this cycle keeps on happening. Now the soul here is appearing in the male body, but then the soul can travel to either female body or human body or animal body or a tree body or any kind of body depending on the karma the soul is performing. So then Krishna is saying to Arjuna, you should not lament. So there is no cause of lamentation by Arjuna on the account of death, neither for the Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. So Arjuna's concern was, I will miss them. Rather he should rejoice for their changing bodies from old to new one, because after death they are going to get either a spiritual and or a material body, a new body, a young body, because Bhishma and Drona, they were old. So thereby, that's why the Prabhupada is putting this point, thereby rejuvenating their energy. Such change of body accounts for varieties of enjoyment or suffering according to one's work in life. So the point is that we get the body based on our karma. Based on our karma, we get the next, or the soul goes to the next body. So Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, so they were very pious souls. So because they were noble, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in the next life, or at least a life in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment. of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause of lamentation. So this is what is Krishna trying to tell to Arjuna, that do not lament. This change of body is going to happen no matter how hard you try. This is a journey of life. So then Prabhupada explained who is a Dhira. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the super soul, and the nature of material and spiritual is called as Dhira, or most sober man. Such man is never deluded by changes of body. So a person who is a Dhira, or a sober man, or an intelligent man, or a Brahmana, we can say, who knows the knowledge of Brahma Gyan, he understands that what is this soul, what is this body, and within the body there is a super soul. And what is the nature? The nature of the body is temporary. It's going to remain for some time, and then it's going to dwindle, and the person has to leave the body. Sometimes we hear this word, as sure as death. This death is going to happen. We don't know what time or at what point in time. But it is one day it is going to come to everyone. So that is, but at the same time, the Dhira understand that this is same as the changing body which is happening in the current, changes of the body which is happening in the current body. So soul is going to get a new body. So the next point is about the Mayavadi theory. So in the previous session, we also discussed this point regarding the Mayavadis. So I just want to we just want to go over it again. The conception of Mayavad. So what is Mayavad idea or Mayavad ideology? So according to Mayavad, all of us are in illusion, that is in Maya. Originally we are all actually Brahman, that is cosmic consciousness or God. So this is the conception of Mayavad, that originally we are part of Brahman, or we are Brahman, and that is we are God. Now the Brahman has come under illusion. So Brahman comes in either contact with the mode of goodness or passion or ignorance. And when it comes in contact with those modes, what happens? When Brahman comes under illusion, I think I am a person, and similarly everyone is thinking themselves as a person. Some think themselves as a God. For example, Krishna is saying that I am God. So according to Mayavad theory, Krishna is also under illusion actually. So of course he is more learned, consider him to be kind of superhuman. So he is been categorized as Ishvara or Jagadish. Now the problems that is happening in the world according to Mayavad is my sense of I-ness, that I exist, or individuality is the biggest problem. All problems of life or all miseries of life is due to the state of illusion or Maya. So what is the solution? When the Brahman will come out of illusion, it will merge back into the cosmic consciousness. So it is coming from the consciousness, and then it is in the state of illusion, and when it comes out of illusion, it merges back to the cosmic consciousness. And when it merges back, it becomes God. So this is what is their philosophy. So when I dissolve and merge back into cosmic consciousness, then all the miseries will end at that time. This is liberation. At that time, we regain our original position as God. So we start as a God and become under illusion, under Maya. That is why it is called as Mayavadi theory or Mayavadi ideas or Mayavadi ideology. And then we suffer in this world, and then when we come to know that okay, we are not these individuals, we are actually cosmic Brahman. So then we dissolve our body and we merge back to the cosmic consciousness. So this is the essence of the Mayavadi philosophy. But the Vaishnavas or Krishna himself, he doesn't agree with that, all this theory, this is just a kind of illusory theory. And because Maya means illusion, so it's a theory of illusion. So refuting Mayavadi theory. The Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as fragmental portion, because the Mayavadi says that the Brahman, from the Brahman the individual comes out, so that means you are cutting the Brahman, so you cannot fragment the portion of Brahman. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the supreme cleavageable or changeable, against the principle of supreme souls being unchangeable. So Krishna is saying this, that the souls are unchangeable, he is unchangeable, and you cannot cut the soul into pieces. So that way, based on Krishna's arguments, we can refute the Mayavadi theory. Next point is, soul is eternally individual. So this particular verse is confirming that as confirmed in Gita, the fragmental portion of the Supreme exists eternally. So what is the fragmental portion? That is the soul. So the soul, as we discussed in the previous verse, that Krishna says, never at the time I didn't exist, or you or these kings, means the soul is eternally existing. So that is the confirmation. So that is the confirmation given in the previous verse. And that is why the soul is called as Sanatanaha, eternal. So this point is, as confirmed in Gita, the fragmental portion of the Supreme exists eternally, Sanatana, and are called Akshara. That is, they have tendency to fall down into material nature. So this point we discussed in the past, that originally we are in the spiritual world, and then we have tendency to fall down, and somehow or other we fall down. And when we fall down, we don't want to serve Krishna, then we are sent to this material world. So these fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental. And that's the point Krishna is explaining in the previous verse, in the 12th verse. He's saying, never was a time that I didn't exist, or you or the kings, and never in future. We will always be existing in the future. That's what is the whole point. So the soul remains fragmental and eternal in the future too. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. So when we become liberated according to Vaishnava philosophy, then the soul goes back to Vaikuntha planet, and then it stays in the Vaikuntha planet, and it stays there eternally. So this is also explained in Bhagavad Gita in the later chapter. Understanding the super soul. The theory of reflection can be applied to the super soul. So super soul is nothing but is an expansion of Krishna, which is maintaining everyone in this world. So this point is discussed in the previous verse, that there is Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetananam. That verse we discussed in the 12th verse purport, that there is one eternal who is maintaining all the other eternals. So all the other eternals are us, the living entities, and there is one eternal who is maintaining. So that one eternal who is maintaining is the super soul or Krishna. So the theory of reflection can be applied to the super soul, who is present in each and every individual body and is known as Paramatma. So within this body there is a soul, which is us, and along with us there is another soul, which is super soul, that is called as Paramatma. And that Paramatma is there in every body. It's there in the body of human beings, in the body of animals, insects, plants, everywhere. With the soul it is there. Next to the soul it is there. He is different from the individual living entity. So that is the point, that he is not same as the individual living. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflection represents both the sun, the moon, and the stars also. So the moon or the star, they are one, but when we see in this reflection in the different water bodies, we see multiple of them. So similarly, the Paramatma is one, but still the Paramatma is there in every body. The stars can be compared to the living entities, and the sun and the moon can be or the moon to the Supreme Lord. So this is the explanation of super soul. We are of course going to discuss this point again and again in the future verses also. And then the next point is about the individual soul and the Lord are not on the same level. The individual fragmental spirit soul is represented by Arjuna. So Arjuna is a soul, and similarly the other kings are soul. They are all individuals, and similarly we are also souls. We are also individual. And here Prabhupada is saying, and the supreme soul is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Okay, so they are not on the same level, as it will be apparent in the beginning of the 4th chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then the relationship of instructor and instructed becomes meaningless. So Krishna is in a superior position compared to Arjuna, because Krishna is the God himself, and Arjuna is a spirit soul, is a fragmental spirit soul, but he is a spirit soul who is always accompanying Krishna, and Krishna is always superior to Arjuna. So if Krishna and Arjuna is in the same level, then the Arjuna taking instruction from Krishna is meaningless. That's what is the point discussed here. If both of them are deluded by illusory energy, Maya, then there is no need of one being instructor and other being instructed. So we see that Krishna is not in Maya, Arjuna is in Maya. That's why Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, and then he says that Chishyasteham swadimam prapannam, please instruct me. So if Arjuna is thinking that Krishna is also in Maya, then what is the need of taking instruction from Krishna? So such instruction would be useless, because in the clutches of Maya, no one can be authoritative instructor. This is very important point. If Krishna is under Maya, then why should we accept instruction from Krishna? Because we are under Maya, he is under Maya. So we should not accept instruction from him. But because he is not under Maya, he is above the Maya. And Krishna says that in many places in Bhagavad Gita, that Maya adhyakshena prakriti, the prakriti, the Maya energy of mine is working under my direction. So Maya is actually under Krishna. So under the circumstances, it is admitted that the Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity, and Arjuna, who is forgetful soul deluded by Maya. So this is what is explained here, that Lord is always in the superior position, though he may take a role of friend of Arjuna, which he has taken in at this point of time. But as soon as Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, Krishna started instructing to Arjuna. And he begins his instruction by explaining the science of soul. He starts with jnanas, giving the knowledge of soul. So all these points which were discussed above has been put into this presentation format. And the conclusion is that Dhira is not bewildered by the change of the body from boyhood to youth to old age or to another body. Dhira is not lamenting when the body changes. So now Arjuna may say to Krishna that, Krishna, I understand Bhishma and Drona are going to get new bodies. But my relation with Bhishma and Drona is within this body, and my relation with them is going to come to an end. And that is the cause of my grieving and lamentation. Once they are dead, how am I going to show love and affection to them? So how should Arjuna react to this situation? That actually Krishna is going to tell Arjuna in the next verse. And the next verse is a very, very important verse. It's the key verse of Bhagavad Gita. So 2.14 is a very, very important instruction Krishna is going to give to Arjuna, which will resolve this question of Arjuna. Because Bhishma and Drona, the relationship with Arjuna is in this body, and he wants to serve and love in this body. But at the end of the war, if they die, then the body then they are gone actually. So whom is he going to love or serve? So that's a very important question. So let's discuss, or let's hear from Krishna what he is answering to this particular question of Arjuna. So with this, we'll stop here. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol.